Night live stream. It is Wednesday, December 1st, 2021. Welcome. We're glad you found us. If you're new to the group, if you're watching us on Facebook, by all means, leave a comment and I am happy to respond to them if I can see it, which is always an open question. So I'll try and keep it fairly brief tonight, but I've got kind of a lot to get through. A few announcements. I hate to lead with this, but we're needing around somewhere between $45 and $50 in donations right now. It's the first of the month. We have pending bills. If you can help, that would be super appreciated, helpful, and welcomed. Go to our website, studentloanjustice.org. Yesterday was Giving Tuesday, so yeah. So that's why you should do it. No, I'm just kidding. So our bill is doing well right now. I can't tell you why, but I can tell you. I talked to some people from the Senate today or earlier this week, actually, and I can tell you that we're close, guys. We're close to getting bankruptcy back to all federal student loans, not just federally owned, all federal student loans. That has not been true since 1977. There is a caveat in that the loans, the debt has to be more than 10 years old. But we're close, guys. So if you're thinking about sitting back and waiting and watching and eating popcorn, that's exactly the wrong thing to do because our opposition is strong, very strong. And they will pull out all sorts of stops at the 11th hour to try and kill this bill or weaken it to the point of being nonsensically stupid. So I'm worried. I'm very worried. We've got to fight. You can look down there, I think, and see what we are doing. Probably 90% of our efforts right now, folks, is geared towards getting the right of bankruptcy returned to student loans. Probably the most important thing I will tell you tonight is that we will not, mark my words, we will not get meaningful loan cancellation unless and until we get the right of bankruptcy returned. I know it doesn't seem obvious to a lot of people. Most people are like, I don't want to file for bankruptcy. Nobody does. Bankruptcy sucks. And when this right is returned, very few people will ultimately have to file for bankruptcy because it's not filing for bankruptcy that is the goal here or really the means. It is the threat of bankruptcy that is so important. The threat of bankruptcy alone is going to be enough to compel the president to broadly cancel student loans and to compel the Department of Education to negotiate meaningfully with the borrowers. Right now, we've got no power. We have zero, not a power at all. They took that away when they took away bankruptcy protections, when they took away statutes of limitations, when they took away truth in lending laws, fair debt collection practices, and other consumer protections. But the whole bedrock, the whole thing that predatory lending scam sits on is the absence of bankruptcy protections. So look at the daily actions right there. And if you care about student loans, I hope you do. If you're watching this, then you probably do. We've been doing this for 16 years, folks, and never ever have we been so close to getting true justice for student loans. If you want loan cancellation, you got to fight for bankruptcy. I don't think we're going to see loan cancellation without the threat of bankruptcy back on our side. So there's two things. There's that bill, and there's also the prospect that the Biden administration may order its contractors to stop opposing student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. That is essentially the same as returning bankruptcy rights to student loans, although we've got to get the law changed. So we don't need Congress to cancel loans, but we do need Congress to pass S-2598, the Senate bill. So please help with that if you can. So tonight, I want to talk about why student loans are unconstitutional, illegal, and illegitimate. Now, I know people see that headline and they're like, okay, this guy sounds like kind of a wingnut, a radical, whatever. It doesn't, A lot of you people are watching this right now with your tongue in your cheek. But ladies and gentlemen, I am here to tell you that it is true. All those things I just said are true, and I can prove it. And in the next, hopefully no more than 10 or 15 minutes, I will prove it. So let's start with the big dog of those three things: constitutionality. If you look at the Constitution, not the Bill of Rights, the body of the Constitution itself, you will see in Article 1, there's the front of the Constitution, Section 8, probably the most, well, a very integral part of the Constitution. It's not a very long document, by the way. This is where the powers of Congress are enumerated. So if you look at Article 1, Section 8, you will see the power to build an army, the power to build a navy, raise an army, build a navy, the power to declare war. You see the power to coin currency. You see the power to create a judiciary, the power to establish a post office and stuff, like many other powers, very important powers, most people would agree. Well, above, on that very same list, above all those things I just mentioned, is the power, if you want to call it that, to establish uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcies. I kid you not. People think about bankruptcy, they're like, bankruptcy sucks. Yeah, but bankruptcy does suck. It's no picnic. There's no doubt. And by the way, if you have questions or comments, throw them out. If I can see them, I will respond to them. I can't see them yet, but I'm going to keep checking. And so hopefully I will be able to see them very soon. Bankruptcy is listed above the power to declare war and raise an army in the Constitution. There's a very good reason for that. You know, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Robert Morris. You know, these are, hopefully you know at least two of those three names. Robert Morris actually financed the American Revolution. All of those guys were being hurt badly. They were being held over a barrel by British banks, merchants, trading companies, and the like. Indeed, most of colonial America was in deep debt, one way or another, to the King George, I think it was at the time. You know, we really sort of fought this revolution, 1789. Well, starting in 1776 when we declared independence, but when the war really started getting hot years later. That war was largely about economic emancipation. So the founders, when they astoundingly called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution ahead of all those other powers, they were onto something. They knew how debt could be used to conquer and enslave a country. John Adams himself said, there are two ways to conquer and enslave a country. One is by the sword. The other is by debt. So here we are, 250 years later, 240 years later. Student loans are the only type of loan in the country, in fact, in our country's history, to be uniquely stripped of the uniform bankruptcy rights that every other loan in this country enjoys. Car loans, auto loans, you name the loan, and I will show you a loan that is covered under the same uniform bankruptcy laws. There's only a carve out, in other words, an exemption for student loans, and both federal and private, by the way. So something's not right there. Now, our opposition, they'll say, oh, no. Student loans are constitutional, even though they don't have bankruptcy protections, because as long as the law applies uniformly to everyone, so the law for everyone is the same, then it's okay. So it's okay to take bankruptcy away from student loans, as long as we take it away for student loans for everybody in all the states, across all the states. And ladies and gentlemen, I am here to tell you that is a fallacious, that is a dangerously and blatantly wrong interpretation of the definition of uniformity. Uniformity means something more than that. The founders' intent was that uniformity doesn't mean just that the laws are the same for everyone. If they did, then Congress, under lobbying pressure from the banks, they could remove bankruptcy protections like they did for student loans for all loans. They could take it away from credit cards. They could take it away from medical debt. They could take it away from any and every form of debt that you can imagine. And they'd say, and our opposition, the banks and others, lending interests, they'd say, oh yeah, no, that's actually constitutional. Yeah, no, that's good. That's fine. Come on. That is just blatantly wrong, and our opposition knows it. This very unique, unprecedented removal of uniform bankruptcy rights from student loans is absolutely unconstitutional. And I might add, even by their tortured, wrong, and very dangerous definition of uniformity, even still, that's not met for student loans. Because if you go to the whatever the New York circuit is, circuit 1 or 2 or whatever it is, from circuit to circuit, the judges treat borrowers differently in bankruptcy proceedings for student loans. Some judges use something called totality of the circumstances. Most judges use this undue hardship standard. I don't want to get into the weeds here. It's kind of a fairly complicated legal argument. But even by the tortured definition of uniformity that our opposition uses, student loans are not treated uniformly across the 50 states, from state to state. They are not. So student loans are unconstitutional. And, there's another argument. The Bill of Rights, not the Constitution, but the Bill of Rights gives us equal protection under the law. So every person should be treated the same under the law. So why are people with student loan debt, who are by definition economically disadvantaged, or at least economically needy, financially needy, why are they treated differently in bankruptcy court than all other citizens? So there's another argument there, and it may not be quite as strong. Some people think it's actually stronger, but student loans are not constitutional, folks. But for the bad politics in this country, we would have seen any number of challenges rise to the Supreme Court by now, challenging the constitutionality of student loans. Why has this not happened? I don't know. It's baffling. It is truly baffling. I practically begged, I want to say her name is Jill Sherman. She was the president of the ACLU. And I laid out the argument that I just laid out to you in probably nicer, more precise terms. And she didn't disagree with me, but she refused to take that case up. We have seen any number of people try to mount this legal argument in court, but these are people who don't have the right lawyer, or maybe they didn't have any lawyer, or whatever the case may be. Their cases were quashed. They were quashed and thrown out before they even got a chance to appeal. I think even to whatever one step higher from bankruptcy court, whatever that appeals court is, I'm not sure. They were quashed. No good reason, no valid legal argument for why they were wrong. Usually it was for lack of standing. But ladies and gentlemen, that does not change the fact that student loans are absolutely and completely, and I would say even, it's not even debatable, unconstitutional. So, and if it's unconstitutional, it's illegal. But I want to talk a little bit more about just blatant illegality. And so this is a little softer ground, but think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Every other loan in this country has truth in lending laws that they have to go by. Every other loan in this country has fair debt collection practice laws that they have to go by. Every other debt in this nation, loan or debt, every other loan certainly has statutes of limitations. All of those things have been removed uniquely from federal student loans, removed or restricted. In 25 states, negatively amortizing loans are illegal. Usury. Well, ask anybody you know who's in the IBR program, who's in the the repay program, you name it. And I will show you somebody that, as a function of the contract they signed, has a increasing loan balance throughout the life of that loan. That would and should be illegal in 25 states. But because they are federal loans, the supremacy thing, federal loans, they get away with it. So, guys, this lending system is like nothing we've ever seen before in this country. It is the biggest, most unconstitutional, should be illegal, but it is illegal because it's unconstitutional in the first place, lending scam ever to visit U.S. shores. And I mean, even going back to the Pilgrim days. Well, I don't know. I've heard some terrible things about the Pilgrim days. I saw a quote from a pilgrim, like a diary entry, where he was like, yeah, we came to the New World and we owed the ship or the ship owner like 8,000 beaver pelts. We paid that guy or that ship owner like 13,000 beaver pelts. And he says that we still owe him 15,000 beaver pelts. So, so it's hard to compare time to time, but certainly in modern America and today, as I'm talking to you now, federal student loans and even private student loans, which also do not have bankruptcy protections, they are unconstitutional. They are a scam. And for the life of me, I cannot see any reason why anyone should ever pay another dime into this lending scam. I know the lenders have at least some power, some collection power on the books. I know they can scare you with these 2-bit, third-party, private, for-profit collection goon squad companies. Most of the people on the phone probably never even graduated from fucking high school. But guys, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of this 2-bit nonsense. You know, February 1st is coming around. But I'm here to tell you that this lending system is now, it is a scam. It is unconstitutional. It is illegal. These loans are illegitimate. Truly, they are. But I think what makes them most illegitimate is when nobody pays on the loans. When nobody's paying the loans are, I don't think you can find anyone who would call that a legitimate loan. So before the pandemic, 80% of everybody was underwater on their student loans. 80% of everybody before the pandemic, they were not able to pay their loans down. So their loans were negatively amortizing, if you want to call it that. Over 50% of all federal student loan borrowers were not making payments at all before the pandemic. So what is that? I mean, is that not an illegitimate lending system? I would argue that it is. There's maybe some room for debate there. Oh, hey, I can finally see our live video. If you have any questions or comments, throw them out. I love when people talk, so I'm not sitting here a talking head. So if you have any questions or comments. When 51% of everybody is not paying on a loan, is that really a loan? I would argue that it's not. But that was before the pandemic. Now here today, almost nobody is paying on their student loans, on their federal student loans anyways. I don't think the pandemic was very good for the economy. I don't think I need to argue that point. I don't think anybody would debate me on that. I think people are in far worse shape today than they were before COVID hit. It's anyone's guess how many people will ultimately resume paying on their student loans if and when they decide to turn this lending system or try to turn this lending system back on. I don't think it will even be 25%. It was less than 50% before the pandemic. I think at least half the people, we know that 80% were underwater, right? They were never going to be able to repay their loans. I think a lot of people started doing some deep thinking about their student loans. And they certainly didn't read the Constitution. They didn't do all the bookwork that I have done, none of the research. But something in their gut just kind of told them, you know what? These loans are just not, they're not right. Something's desperately wrong with these loans. They could feel it viscerally. So I would frankly be surprised if 25% of the borrowers resume paying on their loans. Hey, little cat. Hey, kitty. It's my cat. I would be surprised if 25% of the borrowers resume paying on their loans. I hope it's zero. I really do, guys. At this point, I'm 51 years old. I've seen this lending scam come and wreck generation after generation of good people. Hey, we have a comment here from Vanj Unru. Hey, Vanji. Do we have lobbyists lobbying Congress? Vanji, we are the lobbyists. I mean, the answer is yes. And the lobbyists are us, constituents. You know, we've got over 1 million people on our petition. Every single day, we ask people to contact their senators, to contact their governors, to contact their House reps. I myself spend just a ton of time on the phone with legislators and legislative staff across the country, but mostly in Washington, D.C. That's what we do. But Vanji, it's not us. It's you. I mean, it is we. You're right. You said we, and that's good. The we is us. So you can't sit back, and I'm not accusing you of doing this, but you can't sit back and think that some nondescript lobbyist that we hired, we don't hire anybody. We're a 100% volunteer group. We don't pay for services. We don't do that. You can't sit back and think that some anonymous, well-coiffed, actual registered lobbyist is doing our bidding for us in Washington, D.C. No, we don't. We're not going to pay somebody money to make an argument that we need to be making ourselves. Believe me, you and me, the people who are being hit by this bomb, we are the way more effective lobbyists than any lawyer in Washington, D.C. could ever be. We are the lobbyists. And we've gone from almost nowhere 2 years ago to being not only on the verge of finally getting our constitutional bankruptcy rights back, but even, whether it looks like it or not to you right now, very close to getting very broad, very widespread loan cancellation by executive order. Here's maybe something I didn't say earlier that's very important. When we get bankruptcy returned to us, President Biden will be immediately, strongly compelled to broadly cancel loans by executive order. There is 40 million people in the country who were in deep distress over their student loans. That's 80% of everybody. Nearly 40 million people, even before the pandemic, were in deep distress over their student loans. Many of those people, if bankruptcy was returned, would be strongly compelled to file. So how many ultimately would? If everything stayed the same, if bankruptcy was returned and loans were not canceled, I'm guessing that something like 10 million people would absolutely file within about the first year. And over the next 3 years, I'm guessing probably 20 or maybe even 25 million people would wind up ultimately filing for bankruptcy. Now, in a typical year, fewer than 1 million people file for bankruptcy for any reason in this country. So does Joe Biden or any president, are they willing to be the president on whose watch the bankruptcy courts in this country were flooded to the point of seizure? Like far worse than even during the Great Depression? No. They will do everything they can to avoid that. That's why the threat of bankruptcy is so freaking important, ladies and gentlemen. That's why getting S2598 passed is so important. And that's why you being the lobbyist is so freaking important. We have to fight this battle, guys. No suited rich guy in Washington, D.C. is going to fight this battle for us with any seriousness. Even if we had $20 million to throw around Washington, D.C., that is very little money in Washington, D.C. I'm not even sure that that $20 million would get us bankruptcy back. If we had like $500 billion, yeah, we could probably buy bankruptcy back. But guys, that's nonsense. That's stupid in the first place. This is not a money thing, guys. We don't need money to make this happen. What we need are people who understand the unconstitutionality, the illegality, and the illegitimacy of this lending scam. Once you know what I know, and I think that you already do viscerally, but whether you can enunciate it or not, communicate it effectively or not, that's another matter. Once people get what I get and feel confident in publicly fighting this battle, we're done, guys. I mean, we're finished. So 2 years ago, we were nowhere. We didn't have a bankruptcy. Well, we had a bankruptcy bill, but it wasn't looking like it was ever going to pass. We were nowhere on loan cancellation. So this group, we started the petition, change.org/cancel student loans, that ignited the public conversation about student loan cancellation by executive order, which could be done without needing a dime from the Treasury or without adding a penny to the national debt, by the way. This is something that the PPP loans and all the other stimulus cannot claim. Canceling student loans is the easiest, cheapest way to stimulate the economy by far. We started that petition that started that. I don't think that we would be talking about cancellation in the news today, but for the fact that Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer saw our petition, picked up on our petition, and yeah, they had some lawyers on their side as well, whatever. But I think it was us that caused that. I know for a fact it was us that caused S2598 to come into meaning. So guys, I'm telling you, the number one thing we need to be doing is fighting for that bill right now. I would even say forget about loan cancellation for the time being. Far more, and we're fighting for both of those things at the same time because we just are. But I'm telling you guys, S2598 is far, 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 far the most important thing that anybody can be fighting for right now. The lobbyist is you, Bonji. So maybe the last thing I'll say tonight is this is a fight easily won. And the way that we win that is by everybody, not just a handful of people, not just like a few hundred people, which is basically what we have right now in terms of people fighting every day and getting their knuckles dirty. We need a way higher percentage of our members to be actually fighting this fight every single day. If you look there, you see the daily actions that we do nearly every day on our website. It's quick stuff. Those daily actions take almost no time to complete. They're usually like Twitter things. Sometimes you might want to, it might be like calling your senators or sending an email, but it's something that you can typically do in less than 2 minutes. When everybody does those daily actions, this problem is solved. I mean, we're done. If even 1% of our members, which would be like, I think 10,000 people, if even 10,000 people of the 1.2 million people or so that we have, if even 1% of those people, 10 or 11 or 12,000 people did those daily actions every day, I guarantee you that would overwhelm the Senate offices, congressional offices, the Twitter accounts of the people that we are hitting on a daily basis. And I mean, I think that would probably solve the problem. So we are the pioneers on this, folks, like it or not. We have an army-sized muscle to flex, but that only matters when you sitting there own this problem, recognize that these are your loans and your problem, step up, do the not hard, but diligent and persistent actions that we're asking everybody to take, and then we'll be done. It's really that simple. So I don't know what you're waiting for. I don't know what other people on the group are waiting for. I know people are busy, but is this not a very important problem? You got to own it, guys. You got to put your own work in. And that's, I think, the way how democracy has always worked, because nobody is going to pull your weight for you. So just do it, guys. Make it a part-time job. If you're not working, make it a half-time job. Hey, another comment here from Vanji. I don't understand how Biden is not canceling loans. His wife is an educator who likely understands ? I don't know how much of an educator Jill Biden is. I think she taught at the elementary school level. I don't think she ever had any connection to higher education. Joe Biden is exposing himself, ladies and gentlemen, as, quite frankly, I don't know. I don't have a kind word to even call it. It's fraud. You know, before the election, Joe Biden was saying, "I will eliminate your student loans if you earn less than $125,000 a year and you went to a public college or university or an HBCU." He said that. He said, "I will eliminate $10,000 across the board." So now he's president. Within a couple of weeks after the election, he said, "Oh, I won't be doing that." And then he said, "Oh, I don't have the power to do that." And both of those things are just knives in our back, a finger in our eye. Joe Biden, oh God, I'm out of stuff to say. He's been a massive disappointment. The one good thing I can say about Joe Biden is that he is, for better or worse, a politician, and he will go which way the wind blows, and he will go whichever way his handlers or whoever guide him to go. So, you know, Joe Biden laughed me out of the room in Iowa when we were following presidential candidates around on the very moderate, mild question of bankruptcy. He's like, "Oh, no, we don't." He actually interrupted me. I was asking about bankruptcy. He interrupted me. He goes, "We don't need bankruptcy because I'm going to have these repayment plans. They're so great." And those repayment plans are just crap. And finally, we have the data to prove that public service loan forgiveness, joke. Only now is it not a joke because of pressure. Remember, guys, the public service loan forgiveness thing only got fixed because of pressure from people and unions. The teachers union certainly didn't hurt, but whatever. It is pressure that caused public service loan forgiveness to maybe hopefully get fixed. But that's tiny, guys. Public service loan forgiveness, all that stuff they said, 30,000 people getting the loans canceled, that's like 1% of all borrowers. That still leaves 44,500,000 people screwed. But Joe Biden will go which way the wind blows. And so he can be pushed. He was nowhere in Iowa 2 years ago when we were following him around. He adopted Elizabeth Warren's bankruptcy plan, which included a pledge on day one to return bankruptcy student loans, by the way. So he didn't do it, but at least he came that way, and he adopted her bankruptcy agenda in the presidential race. He also adopted or claimed to adopt the cancellation agenda before the election. Yes, it was insincere. Yes, it was a cheap political ploy. Yes, it won him the election, and he owes us. The fact that he hasn't done it yet, folks, doesn't mean he's not going to do it. And in many ways, guys, it almost doesn't matter what Joe Biden does or doesn't do. The most important thing that matters, in my view, is whether or not people continue to pay. If they resume paying on February 1st, that makes it harder for everyone. I don't think that's going to happen. Most people I talk to are kind of 50-50 right now. They're kind of on the fence. They're like, you know, my best guess is that maybe 30, maybe 35% of the people will actually resume paying come February 1st, but that will drop down way low within the next few months. I think by summertime, it will be down to 25%, maybe 20%. That's my best estimate. But guys, this stuff does not happen in a vacuum. It does not. We are a part of this whole thing. We're not a disconnected Facebook user watching a line on a chart on a graph. We are part and parcel of this problem. What we do, what you do matters, like big time. You know, in the words of famous fake person John Connors from that movie, The Terminator, you have no idea how important you are. You know, it only takes one person. You could be that person who convinces, let's say, Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida. The state budget of Florida is $80 billion. Student loan debt in Florida is $120 billion. It only takes one person to convince Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, to stand up one day and say, Mr. President, enough. I'm a Republican. I will not have my state conquered, enslaved, and wrecked by the federal government under this nonsensical, fake, unconstitutional, illegal, and illegitimate lending scam. I will not. Mr. President, cancel the loans. That's something Ron DeSantis should say. You might be the person who can get him to do that. So you have no idea how important you are. Hey, another comment here from Benji. Benji Unruh. Sorry, I'm trying to get your name right. I've got 7 years PSLF. I've got 7 years in PLSF time, but no longer in a qualified employment. So PSLF is meaningless. I need to earn a living now. I'm 58 with 132K owed. Started college in 1981 and student loans. It sucks. Vanji, I am right there with you. I applaud, appreciate, and respect the fact that you're here. I turned 51. In fact, I turned 52 years old here in a few months myself. So I feel your pain. So, over 50%. In fact, put it this way. Older people over the age of 35 outnumber younger people under the age of 35 with student loans. Older people over the age of 50 outnumber people under the age of 25 with student loans. And the older group in both of those cases owes something like triple what the younger group owes. So this is a senior issue, guys. You wouldn't think it is, but it is. I'm telling you, what I just said is absolutely and totally true. We broke that news, by the way, in Business Insider and Yahoo News, and it was kind of a big deal a few months ago. It still is a very big deal. But it's just amazing. Hey, Vanji says Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris should be saying cancel loans. I'm in California. My interest is 9% and does not change. Regardless of where you're from, every governor in every state should be telling the president to cancel the loans. Not this up to $10,000 nonsense. Not this up to $50,000 nonsense. That's weasel-worded political, pardon my French, bullshit. Up to $50,000 can and mean anything, and it will mean almost nothing if the student loan swamp has their way, and they will. I have to say, we're a nonpartisan group. If you're a Republican, Democrat, you're welcome here. People accuse us of being a left-leaning, radical, liberal group all the time. It's not true. And I'm going to prove this by what I'm about to tell you. Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom are deep in bed with somebody called Swig, S-W-I-G. They're one of the oldest, richest, old money families in the state of California. I know California is a new state, but there is a new generation of quote unquote old money in California. And the Swig family controls the politics to a great extent. Liberal, Democratic politics, maybe even Republican politics, I don't know, in the state of California. Kamala Harris is like besties with, I think, Carolyn Swig or something. I think her name is Swig, the Swig family. The Swig family is playing games around the student loan issue. When our petition got huge about canceling student loans by executive order, and then all of a sudden, on the East Coast, Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer started calling for cancellation by executive order. The Swig people all of a sudden started whispering in Kamala's ear, in Joe Biden's ear, in Nancy Pelosi's ear, and I am sure in Senator Feinstein's ear. No. We don't want to cancel loans by executive order. If we're going to cancel loans, we want to cancel loans by Congress. And the only good reason that I can come up with why the Swig family would say this is because somehow, some way, they are making money by Congress passing a law that raises $1 trillion or more in tax money, so that tax money can be taken and used to pay for student loan cancellation. Congress should not be canceling loans. That's stupid. It's expensive. It adds to the national debt. It's the stupidest thing in the world. And why is the Swig family weighing in on this issue? It makes no sense to me. So Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom, they all are tainted by this Swig family. And I don't trust them further than I can bowl them. But you're absolutely right, Ravanji. Californians owe by far and away the most student loan debt of any state in the country. Last I checked, I think it was $176 billion of student loan debt is sitting around in California. It may actually be 276, but no, I think it's 176 billion. That's a lot. That's a lot of people. So people in California, if you're listening to me, you need to fight. Make that puppet Gavin Newsom turn away from the Swig family and turn towards you, the people who put him in office, and make him fight for us. I lived in California for 13 years. I know California. If I was in California, that's exactly what I'd be doing. I'm not. You are. You can help. As I said, you have no idea how important you are. So I know I've gone way long tonight, guys. I hope that you got something. I hope that you understand now why student loans are unconstitutional, why they're illegal, and why they are illegitimate. When nobody's paying a loan, they become illegitimate. So think about that. Think about your own self. Think about your own battle. Think about ways that you can bulletproof yourself between now and February 1st. Think about ways that you can never, ever pay another dime into this dangerous, unconstitutional, illegal, illegitimate, and nationally threatening lending beast. Don't feed the beast. Starve the beast. Think about ways that you can make that happen, whether you default or not default. Hopefully you won't default, but if you are already in default, then who cares, right? Think about ways that you can make that happen. We can rip the legitimacy out from under this lending system. It's already kind of happening. We're already there in my view, but we do need more people to be helping. So all starts with you guys. Be the change you want to see, and it's going to happen. I'm more hopeful than I've ever been in my life. Yeah, and don't get me started on Kevin McCarthy and Devin Nunes. I know I said bad things about Democrats. The Republicans are blatantly evil on this particular topic, the student loan topic. I don't have any super bad things to say about Devin Nunes, Kevin McCarthy per se, but they're horrible. Buck McKeon is probably the worst congressman ever, and he's from Magic Mountain, whatever that county is, Imperial County or something, California. Yeah, you guys got a lot of people to push there in California, so get on it. And Jody rightly mentions I should promote the petition, and I should. Change.org/cancel student loans. We've got 1.1 nearly million people on the petition now. We could have 25 or 30 million people on that petition. Literally, we truly should. That will happen when you make it happen. 5 people with student loans. If you know 5 people with student loans, 4 people who were never going to be able to repay their loans even before the pandemic. They should be signing our petition. So be the change you want to see. Talk to 5 people with student loans. Tell them about the petition. If they know about it, they'll be inclined to sign. And that will only help, guys. It will only help. So stay strong. Do our daily action. Keep us posted as to your progress. We love to brag on what our people are accomplishing, and they're accomplishing a lot out there. Make stuff happen. Tell us about it. We love to brag on it. Good luck. I'll be back on Friday. Ed will be back tomorrow. Godspeed. And God bless everybody. Oh, and please donate. I said that earlier. Please donate. Just a little bit. Like not even a lot. Like $45 is what we need to raise between now and tomorrow. So peace.